Good morning. Today we are working on pages 27 and 28 in the Smarter Balanced Assessment book. So go ahead and get your workbook out. On page 27, we're working on graphing decimals and fractions. If your number line, like question number 1, is marked off in decimals, make sure you change all the fractions in the question to decimals. It'll make it easier for you to graph on this number line. For 1a, it says point A represents 1.0. Well, if you look, 1.0 is way over here. So mark yes or no. For point B, it says 3/10. Now remember, this fraction, or this decimal right here is 2/10 because the 2 is in the tenths place. So this is 2/10, this is 4/10, 6/10, 8/10, and then 1 whole. So think about where 3/10 would be. You could change this to a decimal and then graph it and see if it is at point B. For point C, 6.5. That means over 6. Does our number line go over 6? D, 4/5. Change this to tenths, or divide 4 divided by 5 to change it to a decimal, and then graph it, and check it on the graph. Question number 2. It says choose yes or no to indicate whether the statement is correct. The x-coordinate of any point on the y-axis is 0. Draw a coordinate plane, okay, where x is the horizontal axis, y is the vertical axis. Put a point on the y-axis. Put a couple points on the y-axis and check and see if every x-coordinate, like in the ordered pair, is x always going to be 0 if it's on the y-axis. 2b, is -2 positive 1? Graph that on your coordinate plane that you just drew in your spiral notebook or right here. Is -2 positive 1 going to be to the left of the y-axis and below the x-axis? Yes or no? Question C. The point where the axes intersect is the origin. Yes or no? And D. If both the x and the y are positive, the point is to the right of the y-axis and below the x-axis. So again, what I would do is make up a point like 3, 4 and see if it is to the right of the y and below the x. Question number 3. Draw a coordinate plane first before you even do anything here. Explain how to graph points A, B, C on the coordinate plane. Then explain how to graph point D so that ABCD is a square. So graph -3, 0, 0, 0, and 0, -3. Once you have those 3 points graphed, decide where D would be to make it a square and put the coordinates. Pause till you're ready to go to number 4. Okay, question number 4. Again, we're looking at the horizontal number line, and it says write the decimal and fraction in simplest form represented by each point. So A, notice it's between 0.4 and 0.6. So what would A be? You have to write it as a decimal and then change that decimal to a fraction. Remember, these are tenths, so you can just put whatever your number is over 10 and then reduce it by dividing by a common factor. And do the same thing for A through D. So you need 2 answers. One as a decimal, one as a fraction, and make sure your fraction is reduced. Question number 5. Write the values in order from least to greatest. Now remember, before you can compare these, you need to change them all to decimals. So take 1 divided by 3, change it to a decimal. Take 2 divided by 5, change it to a decimal. When you write them in order from least to greatest, change your decimals back into fractions. Question number 6. Again, make a coordinate plane in your scratch paper or your spiral notebook. Graph these points and answer the question about whether they are to the left and to the right or up or down from the axes. Question number 7. They want to know 0.25, is that greater than, less than, or equal to 1/4? Change 1/4 to a decimal. Divide 1 divided by 4. On B, change 1 1/5 to a decimal. by dividing 1 divided by 5. Make sure you put the 1 back in front of it after you divide. And then compare. Is it greater than, less than, or equal to 1.5? If you have any questions, email me. Have a great day.